Thanks once again for tuning in to Totally Not a Podcast this week. This was easily my favorite episode we've recorded so far because apparently I really enjoy conflict. So strap in and I hope you enjoy.
Welcome back to another episode of Totally Not a Podcast. It pains me to say it, but I am still AJ. Tyson is here, and so is Mark.
Hello.
Who has some criticisms of this week's episode. There might be some fighting. Get ready. Now, we have made a fairly direct jump from the end of last week's episode into this. We are searching for a plane. Now, one of the criticisms that has definitely been thrown around when it comes to Daima is that these episodes are making quite small ground progression-wise. You know, the first episode had a big chunky recap, and then we spent most of that time with the new villain, and then the next episode we had largely presumed we were going to jump into the demon realm, and then we spent that entire episode with the current heroes, and then the next episode we thought we were jumping into the demon realm, but it still took half an episode to get there. There's been a lot of pacing complaints thrown around Twitter. I will say personally I find that quite refreshing, but I know that Mark feels differently, so before we jump into things, I would like to hear Mark's thoughts on this and let him have the table.
Before I get into any criticism that I have of it, is that, yeah, I think AJ and I probably are having the exact same experience with regards to the show. I think it's more just the case that maybe it's me being accustomed to the Netflix environment where things are released weekly released all at once rather. But you know, this isn't to compare it to anything, but like I don't often watch anime weekly, but I'm watching Dan to Dan and I'm having a great time watching it. It just feels like the progression per episode, again, because we're only getting one episode a week, it feels like the progression is very slow. And in addition to that progression being slow, you have it like there's stuff for people like you and I, AJ and Tyson, where we like to look at the lore of the situation and all that kind of stuff. But it feels like a large contingent of the Dragon Ball fandom is sort of being left out to dry in a little bit of a sense regarding this. Like, obviously, there's going to always be people that are going to have criticisms about this, but because this is taking so long to get to the point, or to get to a part where there's like, you know, visible tension, it feels like it's almost dying a bit, the anticipation I'm feeling at least. So, like, obviously now, last week, the anticipation was, we're going to go be heading for conflict. But we kind of are, we kind of aren't. There were some really cool reveals this week, and there's plenty to like and enjoy the same way there was every other week. But it just kind of feels like it's gotten quieter, if that makes sense. Does anyone else feel like that? Or am I just going crazy?
I definitely understand what you mean, but I think for me it's quite nice because we've just stepped into this new world, and I think if we were just walking around like, oh, here's a town, and now here's the next town, like we're kind of doing that, but I think it's quite nice that it's taking the time to establish this world. Now, you could absolutely argue that it's doing a lot of telling about the world and not as much showing. Like, you could maybe have more examples of this lore being thrown out through active participation in it, as opposed to what I suppose quite a fair chunk of it has been a lot of reading. There is a lot of stuff in this episode where they are showing rather than telling, but I can see the complaint. But personally, as I said, I find it refreshing. I've been having a great time with it. You know, I've not felt that just yet.
I think part of the problem is it's just been a while since we've gone week to week on such a long-running show. I mean, if you think about Super, by episode 4, we were basically to the equivalent of like the 20, maybe not even the 20-minute mark of the Battle of Gods movie. Like, we
True.
Beerus hadn't,
but that
even
also
met
wasn't
Goku.
good. But also wasn't good. I think we should probably preface that. I didn't think that was good.
I don't think there's because the first episode was kind of like reestablishing stuff, and then there was the episode where Vegeta like goes on the trip to the resort.
Hey, like, look, dude, if you want to die on the hill, okay, look, I don't think as many people are going to agree with you that like the pacing for the start of Battle of Gods was good. I think part of that also was the fact that we knew the story as well. We don't know this one, so it's not like for like. I'm not going to say it's as bad as that, but I didn't personally find the pacing for the start of Dragon Ball Super to be very engaging either.
I guess if you look at like OG Dragon Ball, quote unquote, like it is paced a little bit quicker in the beginning, but that's partially because it's not like a serialized story. It was just like Monster of the Week type stuff, where by episode 4 of Dragon Ball, we were meeting Oolong, which is still not very far, but is like more had happened. We met Bulma, and then the next episode we met Turtle, and then the next episode we met Roshi, and then Oolong by episode 4. So that is a little bit brisker, but I think that's kind of just a product of a more serialized story, like Battle of Gods or some other arcs. Like I'd be interested. I wonder at what point is 4 episodes into the Boo arc? Because you got to know that's not very much.
No, I get it. It's just maybe I'm just in my own head too much about this, but like I'm just trying to think about like from a casual fan's perspective, right? Now, a lot of the criticism heading into Dragon Ball Daima and a lot of the criticisms that I had when I jumped into Dragon Ball GT were, now to be clear, I'm vastly enjoying Dragon Ball GT a whole lot more than I enjoyed I'm enjoying Dragon Ball Daima a whole lot more than I enjoyed Dragon Ball GT. Yeah.
Pay attention. Mark said he likes GT.
Yeah, I mean, I like parts of GT, just didn't like all of it or most of it. But so I guess what I'm trying to say is that it kind of feels like even if you want to compare it to something like, I don't know, Dragon Ball Super, I suppose the action and the sort of atmosphere that was present in the first few episodes, I feel like is lacking here. And I totally get why, because again, like AJ said, we're in a whole new area with whole new characters that need to have all this time and energy spent into, you know, like fully realizing that world. And that's an entirely worthwhile venture. I totally stand by that. And maybe it'll pay off dividends later. I hope it does. But at the moment, it just kind of feels like we're in less of like an action comedy and more of like it feels like a different show. And that's not necessarily a good or bad thing. It's just that I was expecting more Dragon Ball. And this, while feeling kind of like Dragon Ball, it feels like a different flavor of Dragon Ball. And so there's a lot less in terms of like the whole, like, again, one of the things that I loved about Dragon Ball was that they used action and fighting to communicate the story. There was a little bit of that. There was a lot more of that this week, I think. But yeah, like AJ was saying, there's a lot more reading. And I know that can be quite important for when you're in a new area. It's just, I feel like it's coming at the cost of like, it feels different. I hesitate to say in a bad way, but it's just, it's definitely in a much slower way than I was anticipating, at least.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, to me, this just feels like it's an early Dragon Quest portion. I think maybe what you might feel is missing is that. So I would say that the pacing of this show so far has been fairly standard in terms of the ground covered. But I think what's different from Daima compared to, say, other RPGs or other shows in a similar genre is that quite often the first episode is big and bombastic, and there's some kind of major tension established there from the get-go that is looming in the background. Now, Daima obviously did have, you know, an inciting incident. These people show up and they take Dende. But the tone of it is quite, it's still quite jovial. Like it's a fairly light portrayal of those events. And so I suppose maybe what you're missing there is that kind of tension in the background. Because I guess to bring up Super again, if rather than looking at the recap stuff, we look at something like the Future Trunks arc, you think about that first episode, that's a big scary first episode. And then the next couple of episodes up until episode 50, pretty down time. Not a lot going on there.
You need to have your peaks and valleys for sure. I'm definitely on board with that idea.
So it might just be that you're feeling there. But it seems like we're right into the action now, and there's been a lot of cool setup here. So I think I think it's just the stakes have been kept low to start with, and it's gradually building rather than like big stakes from the get-go and then lower, and slowly building back up again.
Very possible. What does the chat think? I actually want to know, generally speaking, what everyone's vibe is. I know that people who are watching this, generally speaking, are going to gear themselves a little bit more towards positivity. And in many ways, I'm feeling very positive about this show. But I just want to know, because I think it's engaging. I just think it's engaging in a way that we're not really used to with Dragon Ball Z. It could also be, and I think something AJ said actually kind of reminded me of this. It could also be the fact that I am, like, my memory of what Dragon Ball Super was like to watch week to week is fueled less like what it was like week to week when it started, and more like what it was like watch week to week towards the Tournament of Power and Goku Black Arc, where it was sort of feverish. There was a lot of drama, there was a lot of discussion happening. It was very much a hot button kind of like topic online for discussion, whereas Daima hasn't really been given enough of a chance yet to sort of establish itself, I guess. So that in fact, I'd actually be willing to wager that's probably what I'm feeling, because I think it's unfair for me to compare, like, 4 episodes worth of Daima alongside 131 episodes of Dragon Ball Super that had all that time to find itself, because let's be real, it did not find itself very fast. But once it did, I actually really enjoyed it. Yeah, so I think it's probably a lot to do with that. If anything, I'd actually probably make even the concession that Dragon Ball Daima in its 4th episode is more engaging than Dragon Ball Super was in its 4th episode. So yeah. Looking
at the responses here, seeing a lot of people in the live chat saying definitely the overwhelming sentiment is that they like it. A few people saying you might be in your own head about it a little bit, and then a few people saying that they do agree with you a little bit, that for them personally it feels like it is a little slow. But it seems like the majority opinion, at least, is they're just enjoying getting to spend time with Goku and Co., which is how I feel personally.
Bunch of fucking nerds. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, we do get to spend a lot of time with Goku in this episode, and I think one of the most interesting things that this episode kicks off with is some clarity on a point that we were talking about in the last episode, which is, what does this heavy air really mean? Is it like the gravity chamber? Is it like the room of spirit and time? What's going on here? We get some real clarity on that, which is essentially that it's tiring, it's heavy, like quite literally heavy, and so it takes a lot of stamina out of you, and so it's essentially putting together a nice little lore reason for Goku and the gang to not just make a beeline for where they need to go by flying. We actually get more of a natural adventure. It's absolutely a contrivance, but I think it works in the context of, hey, this is a new place with a different atmosphere.
It is and it isn't. I mean, I feel like there's still a little bit of a precedent for whether or not there should be kind of atmospheric differences to different dimensions. I mean, like, technically speaking, the hyperbolic time chamber, or the room of spirit and time, is supposed to be like a different dimension as well. So like, I mean, and that already has been established to have sort of like a different sort of environment that impacts a person's performance physically. So I feel like there's enough previously established stuff for that to be its own thing that could be justified. What I like about this episode's portrayal of it, though, is that it's much more visual in its demonstration, rather than it just being, they're just explaining why it is this way. I like that there were actual visual indicators when Goku was flying, and he asked a common sense question. It's like, why don't we just fly? It was like, oh, well, it's going to make you tired. And like, okay, that's a genuine reason. And then you can see when he's flying, he's going to be punching the air, kicking the air, and all that kind of stuff. You actually get visual feedback with the resistance of what he's actually feeling. So I do very much like that, for sure.
Just going to throw this out here real quick. Not extremely relevant, but we all got to appreciate the richness of Mr. Manga Only Mark scoffing at the idea of calling it the Room of Spirit and Time. Just throwing that one out there.
Room of Spirit and Time. I don't know, for some reason even though I shouldn't, right? The hyperbolic time chamber, I just grew up with it and it was ingrained in my head. It wasn't until I actually started making YouTube videos that I stopped calling Vegeta. I used to call him Vegeta. Yeah. So I call him Vegeta now, right? But I used to call him Vegeta. So like, and everyone that I grew up with called him the exact same. It might be an Irish thing, I'm not sure.
What?
But if you go back to my old videos, that's how I pronounced Vegeta's name.
The Cheetah.
And there would be people commenting in those videos that I say it that way. They would actually spell it out how I'm saying it phonetically, and that got into my head. That was the very first markism of
that way.
It was just how myself and my brother. It was just how myself and my brother said it to each other, because we for the longest time were the only people we would talk to about Dragon Ball, and so I guess we sort of like, our isolationist ways, kind of like that was just how we pronounced it to each other. And so I think I think a lot of the same things happened though with the Room of Spirit and Time. I kind of like, I grew up listening to the English dub exclusively, and it was always called the Hyperbolic Time Chamber, and it wasn't until I read the manga.
No, but hold on.
Yeah, but no dub calls him Vegeta.
I was gonna say, so like, I have no issue with anyone using a dub term. I just said Room of Spirit and Time because I haven't watched the dub in like 1,000 years.
Hey, look, I'm trying to give you my explanation. I'm just saying the receipts
that-
are there. The receipts are there. All my videos back in the day, I used to say it the wrong way. I'm deadly serious. You can go check. Check now.
But where did it come from?
But it's so funny that your equivalent is you saying the cheetah or something. Like,
No, the cheetah. The cheetah. Yeah, the cheetah. What did you think I said?
I think you said the cheetah as in like the animal, the cheetah.
Wait, what do you spell out what you're saying?
It was like it would have been like VE, cheetah, the animal.
Okay, that's what I thought you were saying from the get-go.
Yeah.
That's still very strange.
Insane. No, age is, no, it's fine. Yeah, but like that's at least within the realms of possibility, right? I mean, that's normal, or at least more normal than whatever. But like, even no, you're fucking AJ was the only person who actually didn't get that, by the way, because everyone else in the chat is spelling it out for you.
No.
Okay,
well, yeah.
Maybe I'm
true.
just deaf. Fine.
To be fair, though, everybody's like, it's called an accent. That's not an accent. You just invented a new spelling for Vegeta that has never been uttered by any dub ever.
I think you'll find that that's how accents work.
No.
Sorry, it was okay. No, okay.
think,
If we really want to fight this point, AJ is from England. AJ, how do you say my name?
Mark.
Case in point.
No.
What do you mean?
You want to know what a better example of that would be? See, he's saying the right. He's still saying M-A-R-K, but in his accent.
No, he's not. No, he's not. He is saying M-A-K. M-A-W-K is what he's saying.
That's M-A-R-K in his accent.
That's more.
The equivalent would be, the equivalent would be is if he pronounced your name Malk. Now with vitamin R.
Yeah,
he's invented new letters that were never
actually know
apart.
I want to invite other like more casual Irish Dragon Ball fans on here just to plead my case, because I can't be the only Irish person that pronounced Vegeta's name that way. Because my brother still to this day does the exact same thing. I just don't pick him up on it.
Vegeta.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Okay, we can get back to talking about Daima, but I really just couldn't let that one go.
No, please, let's talk about the accent thing more.
That's crazy. We've gone on such a tangent. I don't even remember if we finished talking about the air. I'm just going to say we did.
I think we did.
Because
we did.
The next revelation was that Glorio can't sense ki, but he's very powerful still.
Yeah, I had one thought about that. I did wonder if it's more to do with like the fact, like, does it still marry into the idea of dark magic and white magic and all that kind of stuff, or was it black magic and white magic? I can't remember how they described it. The reason though I thought that is because back in the day, like the key-based techniques and stuff were more referred to as like magical abilities rather than actual key abilities. And I wonder if that's sort of coming back in like its own way here. I forget where I read it because I was reading so much of the early Dragon Ball stuff today for a video I'm doing that is the most anal video I've ever made in my entire life. But yeah, like in early Dragon Ball, I believe magic was used in place of things where we would have seen ki used before. So I don't know. Maybe there's something to be said for that. I don't know.
I don't believe so. I'd have to double check. I think, at least for me, I think this was more kind of harkening back to the Saiyan Saga stuff. Because when the Saiyan arc rolled around, one of the revelations was that like Earthlings being trained in using ki or in sensing ki specifically is kind of like an Earth specialty. Vegeta and Nappa were both like, "What the hell? That's weird." That's
true. Actually, that's probably more likely to be the case than.
I don't think it's just harkening back to that of it being an Earth special, because even when after in the Namek arc, Vegeta like picks up the skill and uses it to stunt on like basically Frieza's entire crew, because again, none of them across the universe or galaxy or whatever had ever encountered sensing ki. So I think this is just an extension of that, where we're now in yet another place where they're like, sensing ki? What the hell is that?
I think it also like kind of helps separate Glorio's approach to fighting from Goku's, because I sort of feel like sort of being able to sense ki it's quite a martial artist thing, and Gloria's approach so far has been, pull out the gun and just start
That's
firing.
true. Although so I have 2 points against that. Maybe just one. One of the points actually that someone raised in the comment section there. Now I just looked at it there in the chat. Someone said Namekians can sense ki, and that was something that they themselves could do. So it might not necessarily be an Earthling thing. But on top of that though as well, when Shin and Kibito arrived, could they sense ki? Because I don't remember. I don't remember them not being able to. I just remember them not being able to give. I think I remember Goku not being able to sense their energy.
How does that teleportation? Is that just magic?
No, yeah, it's very specifically different than Goku's teleport / what's it called in the dub? Instant transmission, where his is based upon sensing ki, and Kai doesn't have that limitation. It's just like, I just picked a spot and went there. So that at least
magic is overpowered.
There are elements to this that feel like it's a slow burn. It's going to have an amazing payoff, the likes of which we've never seen in Dragon Ball, and I hope that's the case. I feel like it could be. I think that's very much on the cards, given the pace that we're going at and how much it's like the Sea of Darkness was a thing that was mentioned when they were en route to wherever they are now. Like that's a piece of lore that's interesting on its own visually, but I feel like they're going to use that as well. I feel like they have to use that now that they've kind of used, because it's sort of a Chekhov's gun at this point where you don't want to fall down there, because it's pretty much the actually, you know what, they don't have to fall in there, because Toriyama has used something like that before, and he's never pulled the trigger on it, the whole falling off of Snake Way thing.
Yep, Snake Way.
So, because that was all filler, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, there are lots of things that are still on the table that can potentially happen. I suppose we'll talk about it more once we get to my favorite part of the episode, which, again, this week is the end. So we can, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I think the next point to touch on is, other than obviously the big combat segment at the end with the police, the way that the rest of the combat in this episode functions is incredibly video gamey. Obviously, we spoke last week about this show being incredibly RPG-esque, but now we essentially have random encounters. They're just walking along, suddenly, there's an ogre, and then obviously later on when they're flying through the sky, there's another enemy. It's a very different vibe.
This aspect of it, I don't know if I like yet, and this is part of the reason why I feel like it feels such such a departure from what Dragon Ball is, or has been rather. I like the idea that Goku and Ko get to fight, but I don't like fights for the sake of fighting, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? So
that aspect is really just OG Dragon Ball. It was every single chapter, here's a new guy for Goku to punch.
I don't know if I agree with that. So
how could you not?
The original, okay, hold on to your horses, Tyson. So reading just taking the first arc of Dragon Ball for an example, right? The very first chapter has Goku with a random encounter, technically, with a pterodactyl monster thing that takes Bulma away. The purpose of that is to show how the Nyoibo works, what Goku's capability is, and the utility that he can provide to Bulma as an escort throughout the rest of this adventure. After that, then you have stuff like, the encounter with Oolong, you have the encounter with Roshi. There's pits of conflict, but all the conflict serves the purpose of either building up the group or furthering a particular motivation. Now, I can't think, there probably are examples, to be honest, out of the entire Dragon Ball manga where there are fighting for fighting's sake, but in those moments where there is fighting for fighting's sake, I wouldn't be an advocate for that anyway.
Well, would you not say that the appearance of the ogre here exists to facilitate the plot point that Glorio can't sense ki?
And also,
absolutely,
world building for the demon realm.
Yeah.
Also, so I have the chapter list up here. Chapter 1, other than fighting a random fish or whatever, obviously Goku meets Bulma and then fights the pterodactyl. Chapter 2, he meets Turtle and fights the random bandit on the street. And then obviously there's the chapters after with Roshi that doesn't have much. Then afterwards you meet Oolong. He is a fight that he has, even if we grow to get used to him.
But that's necessary. It serves a purpose for the story as well. Yeah. I'm not saying the actual fight itself, by the way, doesn't serve a purpose in the context here. It's just you don't. I think it's because, and again, this was a feeling that I had when I jumped into Dragon Ball GT as well. It feels like we're taking a massive departure from what we were used to with Dragon Ball Z, and now we're doing kind of like very classic Dragon Ball stuff, and that can work. And it again, to be perfectly transparent here, 90% of the reason why I'm being negative in this episode is just to be a point of confrontation for you guys, rather than us all just circle jerking about the episode. So like, there are elements of this, of course, that I like that are very good, and I guess what I'm saying is that like it feels like a massive departure from the Boo saga, and that can be fine. It just feels like again, and that can be fine. And I felt like it was less of a transition with episode 1 because there was such an emphasis on the seriousness that was the Boo arc itself. But it feels now like we're gone into very kind of lackadaisical mode, where like Goku's like, will we go off and find the Dragon Balls? It's like, no, the priority must be to get Dende, and Goku's like, yeah, you're right, and like, that kind of stuff, Again, I still feel like that is very much in line with Goku's character. It's just, I kind of just wanted this to be maybe a smidge more serious and a smidge faster paced, but that's about it. Like, I mean, like realistically, that's what my complaints with this boil down to more than anything.
I think,
and again, it's more, yeah.
I think even separate from figuring out whether, like, how much purpose they individually show, I think the main and most important purpose of these random encounters, and basically everybody they fought so far, is to like show, not tell, that the demon world is like dangerous and you can't let your guard down. Because, as soon as they rolled up, they were like, oh yeah, this place is dangerous. You really can't let your guard down. But that's going to sound real lame if they spend the entire show just walking around and basically the only guys they fight are people that they start fights with. Like, if you're going to have a demon realm that is truly dangerous and you can't let your guard down, you necessarily just have to run into some amount of like bad guys trying to mug you and fuck your shit up to validate that claim. Validate even.
Also, just want to call out the guy in chat right now that says that I want this to be Z. No, I fucking don't want it to be Dragon Ball Z.
It sounds like you do.
If you watch the other 3 podcasts, I'm actually celebrating the fact that it feels like its own thing. I just feel like now it's gotten to a point where I'm fucking, you just look at the other episodes. I mean, the evidence is there, the receipts are there. I don't need to make that argument. But the point that I'm just making is that like I just kind of, again, I think it all just boils down to like I'm kind of like just, okay, let's get to the thing, because I feel like we're just kind of like getting there. Like the first episode, I felt like I was in complete disagreement with a lot of people. A lot of people thought it went very slowly. I didn't think the first episode went slowly at all. I think a fuckload of shit happened and it was really entertaining. But then like episode 2, okay, we're slowing down. Episode 3, slower again, and then this episode now it feels like we've reacted to the plane being taken and we've moved to a different place. That's everything that happened.
That's the most just not true.
That's very uncharitable, obviously, but like, I'm just saying, like, in terms of forward progression, there hasn't been a massive amount of it in this episode.
I think we will cover what happened in this episode.
Yeah,
maybe we can revisit that point at the end.
Yes, we will revisit and explain why Mark's wrong after we touched on that.
I will say I half know what he means, but I also think that is quite unfair. But where we head off to next is continuing the RPG vibes in a very, very big way, because of course we've had a random encounter, which means we now need to go to a shop and have a zany shopkeeper. And how wonderful is the art direction in this show?
It's really cool. I really like
the design for the shop is so sick.
Yeah, it's just this little sort of teacup, not teacup, what would you call that? Teacup, right? No.
Yeah.
It's a teapot.
Is the word you're looking
teapot.
Or kettle.
You're English. What the hell?
I don't like tea, okay?
What do you call that?
I don't like tea either. I don't like tea either. I mean,
I'm tired.
No,
anyway.
The design for that looks so sick. Hats off to whoever designed the shop, because man, it just looks so interesting.
Yeah, it's a really, really neat design, and I like that. I mean, obviously these characters, I would presume, we're probably not going to see again, but they're just like these zany shopkeepers, and they had their own little like gag where the guy pretends he can't hear, and Glorio is... Well, he pretends he can't hear, and then... Yeah, because he pretends he can't hear Glorio, and then Glorio like whispers to himself like, maybe I'll go elsewhere, because of course the running gag now is that Glorio is really good at bargaining, and the old guy's like, whoa, no, hold on a minute. Like it's a funny act, and yeah, I really enjoyed that. But I think what really stands out most in this area is what it sells. It has items.
I know, like crazy items too, but also regular items, like basically Pokemon like burn an antidote, and they even had like little icons and such, which I thought was really cute.
Yeah, it's very, very gamey. We have our Senzu equivalent, which, you know, it's like a cute little bug. It's orange like a Dragon Ball in its tail, which I thought was really cute.
Yeah, no, it does make me wonder though. I like, you know, eventually they're going to go to the next demon realm and whatever, and I wonder are there going to be like, you know, like in games back in the day when I played them, they like, you know, every subsequent world would have like sort of upgrades. So like to borrow Pokemon as an example, in the first town you're only available to buy is Pokeballs, but when you get to like one of the later towns, you can get Ultra Balls, you can get Max Revives and all that, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I do wonder if they're going to kind of get upgraded that kind of way over time. Like, is the fusion thing only going to last a few seconds or a few minutes, and then the ones later can last much longer? Who knows? I definitely get the feeling that they're kind of like, especially with the fusion thing, like, you know, Vegeta is already going to, or should I say, Vegeta is going to be coming back like at some point later in the story to make some big save. He has to, quote me on that. I'm absolutely 100% predicting that's going to happen. And when he does, I guarantee at some point in the future, again, they're going to do a fusion between the two characters with
absolutely.
Surely.
That's exactly what I was going to touch on. Like you drop a join bug, a thing that has fusion, like that's coming. And not just 100%. that, but other people will have that. That was plentiful, which I think will be an interesting new twist on things.
They will be fighting
Dragon Ball
entities that use these 100%.
That's true. Yeah.
And if you look in the image that it shows 3 people joining.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I didn't actually catch that. That's very cool. That's very cool.
We've obviously spent the last 2 to 3 podcasts yelling, wow, Daima is such a JRPG. But there's nothing more than this episode that more strongly confirms that not only is that true, but that is very much like internally their like guiding light for this series is that it's if Dragon Ball was a JRPG. Like guys, it's just straight up like the mantra for Daima, which I think is so sick. But I mean, it's certainly different on that front.
Guys, a person just commented in chat there is just Goku, Vegeta, and Piccolo.
That would be
I don't even want to think about what that would look like.
That would be fucking fire. That would be so cool. Already I can just imagine the discussions online, the people sharing images. That would be fucking fire. I don't want to hear anybody saying anything about that. That would be so fun. Like,
what about?
Could you imagine the fucking? I didn't even think about this, but like, whenever I think of fusion, I'm always thinking about that stupid like fucking donut croissant kind of shoulder thing, or I'm thinking of like you know the recycled jumpsuit that fucking Vegito always wore or whatever. I'm thinking now like, what will the actual costume be that comes with this? Will it actually be a fusion like with the earrings, or will it be a fusion like with the fusion dance, or will it be its own thing?
Something actually you have to assume.
Yeah. You know, because like if Piccolo's in the mix, there has to be a cape involved. I feel like adding a cape, like imagine Vegito with a cape. The drip. Oh my God. Could you imagine? That would be, sorry.
I mean,
I'm really curious.
That's 100% what's going to happen. It's 100% what's going to happen. And like, look, there's 3 guys that are smaller and they look sad and they turn into this big fucking beefcake or whatever. So like, I'm just fascinated to see what actually happens. Do their bodies change? I wonder because, like, you know, they're small and they go big. So it's going to be a situation like in fucking GT where Goku goes Super Saiyan 4 and he turns into an adult for some reason. Maybe with this, with the fusion, they're going to fuse and also become an adult character. That could be fucking fire. I don't know. I'm just thinking it.
I'm really intrigued by it. It's such an exciting concept.
Guys, this is the best show ever, okay? That's all I'm saying.
Mark just laughing. The complete 180 from the start of this podcast. You were so sad. Oh, the pacing, everything. Oh my God, the fusion. And they could have a cape.
This is the best thing ever.
3 people fusion. I mean, that's
I didn't consider
right
a
there.
cape.
Oh, man.
They have to be touching. They have to be touching. This could be really interesting. The possibilities for this fucking bug thing is great because
they are touching.
Yeah, it looks like the 2 people he's touching want to be away from him. So like, I wonder, can you actually fuse with someone against their will? Oh, that would be fucked.
Sure.
That'd be fucked.
Well, if you can make them eat it.
Yeah. Well, like, do they even need to eat it? Because the guy in the middle is just touching them.
Yes.
The rest of them are looking to go away.
That much we can say. There was a line
touching
in
their
the
butts.
episode that says,
have 1 each or whatever.
People eat one apiece. So they do have to eat it at least.
I personally like the idea, so yeah. Okay.
Mark likes the idea of non-consensual fusion. We're putting that one on the record.
Not consensual fusion. That's almost always the case with Vegeta anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It's true. He gets strong-armed into it. Well, the shopkeeper leads us out to show them a new means of travel, which I think is very interesting. Obviously, we've said that this show has lots of OG Dragon Ball vibes. Maybe none more so than this particular form of transport that is a real sort of shout out to Tao Pai Pai.
I only thought of that the second you started talking about it. I didn't think that at all when I was watching it for some reason. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with me. No
they
idea.
They fly off on a thing called a sky seed that it's essentially the wood log that that Tao Pai Pai has, and you don't have control of it. You just yeet it, hop on, and pray.
I like that.
I really appreciate about the Sky Seed how Goku is the only one enjoying it.
I don't know why.
Like, stressed.
I really
Shan
don't
is
know
gonna
why
shit a
though.
brick.
It doesn't make sense why they're freaking out though. I mean, they all can fly. I don't get it.
Yes,
Why are
but
they
they're
so
going
stressed
at a
out?
high speed, and they know that their control of their inertia isn't very good because of the like wind or like the thick air. So I guess they're just concerned, like stressed that they're going to be able to jump off in time before like falling into the pit of nothingness.
Maybe, yeah.
I do also like
maybe.
the idea that Goku is enjoying it because he was flying around on the Kinto-un for all of original Dragon Ball. He's just like used to the wind in his face and flying around on a little thing as a kid. So
It's very possible. It's very possible.
Yeah. That's definitely like one of my favorite vibes about the show so far is that Goku is just so himself, like he's just so chill and having fun, and Kaioshin is like permanently stressed, like, oh my god, and Glorio is just like, man, why am I even with these kids? What is even happening to me?
Yeah, I would say one of the like defining like vibe characteristics of Daima so far is that it is everyone out of their element except for Goku, who has never in his life more been in his element. Like Goku is in a place that is like, oh no, I have to fight a bunch of guys all the time. This is like a place made for Goku and no one else.
At a constant disadvantage as well. Like he's walking around at a constant disadvantage being in this tiny body he's not used to yet. And he's also at like a disadvantage with the whole environment situation holding him back.
He's just vibing. He's like, man, this is my childhood. I'm in the wilds again.
Yeah,
there's lots of interesting food.
Yeah.
I do gotta say, circling back to the bug thing, I appreciate how other than like the fusion one or the healing one, there were some like status effect ones because I don't know, there's something about that that's fun. Yeah, like a buff. Imagine like Vegeta popping a strength buff at some point and like starting a fight. I don't know. That just sounds really exciting to me.
I wonder would that just like manifest in them getting their like powers back? Like would it be their way to like access like I don't know fucking Super Saiyan or something?
And
maybe
our heroes are doping disqualification.
Yeah.
I mean like that's the wave now, isn't it? With like fucking kids these days, steroids have been normalized. Don't like that. That's not. I'm gonna get controversial about that, but I think that's fucked. Anyway, go on.
Well, I know that Tyson wanted to talk a little bit about the music in this scene. There was a fair few new tracks in this episode, I believe.
Yeah, I will say I wish we were getting more new tracks. Because as
you're about to be negative, come join the dark side, Tyson.
I'm reasonably negative. I'm not inventing fake news. I mean,
oh my god, do not say that to me. Go ahead.
I mean, we put out the video covering the composer for this series, and I've been really excited about him. But the realist slow progression has been his music more than anything else, because I don't know, we still have had like the majority of the tracks in this episode are reused from previous episodes, which is not intrinsically wrong. I just want to hear more. But we did get one of the new pieces of music that we got was when they're like gearing up to get on the Tao Pai Pai Q-tip. I don't know how to describe that particular one other than it just sounded like they stole an old Kikuchi track that never got released and like slid it in, because oh man, the vibes are so identically Kikuchi, and it made me very happy to hear. We just need more. We need more new music.
Could it be that we're not receiving more music because not enough has happened?
Okay. Oh man. Well, yeah, I mean the music has definitely been standing out to me. I would say less so in this episode. It sort of stood out in small pieces. And I think that is because, as you said, quite a lot of it is reused. But the new stuff that did stand out to me, I think, to jump ahead just a little bit, was during the end of Goku's fight, where you got that. It sounded very kung fu. Is the only way I know how to put that. And I find that so refreshing. Like it fits the vibes of all of these fights so far, where they feel straight out of an old kung fu movie. So the fact the soundtrack reflects that is it's really, really nice. But to rewind and to jump forward in a linear fashion, we get some interesting lore, and we also have to unfortunately praise Mark. Last
Do
week,
we? Is that necessary?
Of course, this is necessary every week anyway. But go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, as much as I don't want to, you were very correct about the Dragon Balls and where they are located.
Oh yeah,
within this world. There is one in World 1, World 2, World 3, and they're all guarded by a Tamagami each.
It was a very astute observation.
Do you want to talk about the energy stuff yet, or the lifespan stuff, or do you want to wait for later?
Oh yeah,
Because I have something because there is something that I do want to say about that was foreshadowed. That was foreshadowed. I think that's kind of cool.
Sure.
Well, hold on. Turn the praise back around on me now, because hello.
Yeah, the collars.
The collars meant something.
Sure, the collars did mean something for sure.
There we
But
go. We can
another
forgive
thing
me
that
now.
for the other thing though, for when he's sucking out the energy, that ties back around to what Goma said in episode 1 when he said that he can give more life to Neba.
Yeah, 1,000
extra 1,000 years. So it seems like that's the currency that they use in this world or whatever, or they can use. So I definitely think that this ties back around to episode 1.
Whether this is intentional or not, I think it is. But I think it's kind of purposefully looping back to Babidi, because Babidi was the first time. Cell did some life stealing with his tail, but Babidi had a device that could steal and store energy like it was a battery.
That's true.
And he was from the demon realm. And so now we're kind of seeing an extension of that.
You know what? Actually, this actually kind of ties back around to what we were talking about at the very start of this, where Glorio couldn't sense energy because he doesn't know the concept of it. Babidi was out there stealing people's energy, ki, but ki is also life energy. It's life force. That's what he's stealing. He's stealing their ki, essentially, because that's what it is, isn't it? It's life force energy.
We would have to go back, because not to get too in the weeds and weeby and Japanese, but there is the distinction of ki versus genki. So genki, which is life energy, as we're describing it, is what the Genki Dama, the spirit bomb, is made out of, which is very specifically different than ki, which is energy. I think the best way to describe it is ki is energy in the way that it takes your energy to run a mile, and genki is your life energy, kind of similar to what we're seeing in this episode, where it's this is what sustains you. This is what keeps you alive, and not dead 6 feet under. Where that all falls into this little sucking device, I don't know if they're sucking Genki or if it's just some demon essence, life essence that we.
It's the mechanical version of the Genki Dama. It's basically the Genki Dama, but it takes it without their consent. Yeah.
What if? Yeah, he slurps it up, drinks it.
I wonder, actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, is it possible, because the Genki Dama obviously is a move that uses this specific life force energy, right? I'm wondering, is it possible for Goku to do a reverse Genki Dama where he gathers that energy and just divides it back out to where it was?
Now we're thinking with portals. Wow.
Yeah. See, there you go.
Look at him go.
Yeah. See now, I'm just laying myself up for 2 or 3 weeks time for me to be saying, hey Mark, you were right again. I'm I know. Yeah.
Well, look, to jump back a bit, I think we can all agree that this is immensely fucked up. And to provide the context that we sort of skipped over, we see the military police here who are serving King Gomar. This is really, really sort of, because as I was saying towards the start, Gomar's introduction is quite lighthearted. He obviously says some screwed up things I wish I could wish for death, but I can't. That's screwed up. But he's still quite a fun character to watch. Whereas you get here and it's okay, well, we've got these necklace things that are control devices. What? That's screwed up. And oh, you tax everyone, and if they can't pay, you steal life. Like, there's a lot there that I think adds quite a bit of darkness that I think you were seeking earlier when you were talking about pacing issues. Like, to me, this is this is a lot darker than I thought at first.
I think now the next episode and the episode after that are going to be like, I maybe a bit more focused. See, like I'm very much aware, and have been even prematurely, that we're going towards like a Tamagami fight with, or rather for Dragon Ball, and so I'm just kind of waiting to get to that point, and it feels like now we have like some kind of dark consequences and actual motivation to kind of like usurp this regime that's now taken over the demon realm and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what direction it'll go, or how it will get to the point where we know it's going to ultimately go, which is to say that they're all going to go to fight like a Tamagami for a Dragon Ball. I'm excited for that fight because, you know, it's going to be one of 3 major fights in this quest for the Dragon Balls. But next episode seems like we know that we have the context for these guys. We have a much more serious kind of like aura around the whole situation. Like I said, I really like the ending of this episode as well. So yeah, I don't know.
You know, when you put it like that, AJ, the structure of like Goma, like seeming mostly harmless, but then slowly kind of we're getting some more sinister stuff behind, is kind of functionally the opposite of early Dragon Ball. Where a lot of early Dragon Ball was like, we meet like Oolong, for instance. He's like this terrifying demon creature who abducts and presumably does unspeakably bad things to these girl children. And it's like, wow, that's actually pretty messed up. And then, you know, a chapter later, it's like, oh, actually, he's like a 8-year-old pig, and he's just like hanging out with the girls, and they're costing him too much money. Where we got the opposite of now, where it's being revealed much worse as things go, rather than it's seeming bad. And then it's like, oh, well, you know, it's just a gag manga.
If this life-stealing stuff was very serious and scary, the introduction of this masked girl is very much the opposite, swooping in like Robin Hood, trying to throw a bomb, failing miserably, and just immediately getting caught is one of the funniest entrances in the show so far. This is Pansy.
Yeah. The Masked Majin, I believe, is her like introduction name, right?
Yeah, I think I liked her introduction for the same reason I like any good introduction, in that I like an introduction that quickly and effectively communicates to me what her character is sort of all about. Yeah. So what I mean by that is that like this whole situation is probably the most fucked thing that's happened in the entire series so far, in the 4 episodes that we've seen. Like people actually stealing life force to pay debts and stuff. That is like really dark shit. And so you have a person begging for his life that realistically, you know, he's going to be dead if he pays this balance that he's being demanded to pay. And so Goku, we know him to be sort of like our kind of compass for like, oh, we got to step in to do something. He's the hero. He's about to do it. He knows that he needs to. But before he can make that decision, she already does. And the fact that she actually fails spectacularly, while it being funny, it actually speaks to the courage that she has, because you know what's at stake here. These people can steal your life from you. And even though she appears to be young or whatever, like that's still a lot to lose. And you're still putting yourself on the line for somebody else just because it's the right thing to do. At least that appears to be why she's doing it, you know? And the fact that she wasn't equipped to deal with it on her own only kind of speaks to how brave it was, I think, anyway.
I agree. She was giving Robin Hood vibes for sure.
Just highly inept Robin Hood.
Less skilled. Yes.
Etsy Robin Hood, yeah.
If Robin Hood and GT Pan had a baby, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, her fail here is what causes Goku to sweep in, and we get what surely must be our longest stretch of action in the show so far. I mean, this was full-on Nyoibo action for pretty much the entire run. When was the...
It might be my favorite run of Nyoibo action in any episode of Dragon Ball, to be honest. It's really good, like consistently, and it's really inventive.
Lots of nice smears. I was enjoying all of those. Goku devolved entirely into a smear like 3 different times while he was like wall jumping.
Yeah, this was some really, really nice action. I mean, the episode as a whole was really nice. The
boarded this episode, do you know?
This was a Yashima board again. He has boarded 4 episodes.
4 in a row. I didn't have time to check the credits. That's crazy.
Yeah, the chief animation supervisor for the episode was Naohiro Shintani, your boy. And
The goat.
Yeah, the Nakatsuru redrew so much of this episode.
Yeah, definitely.
I gotta
which
ask
is
this.
why it looked really, really, really nice. But yeah, the action scenes were really, really quite cool, I have to say. You know, we've had Niobe action for sure, but we've not really had Niobe action on a production of this scale. So, you know, to see that, it's just, yeah, what a delight. And as I said, you know, the music in the section I just thought was so much fun. So much fun.
Who did you say was the who said the animation supervisor was? Would you say Shintani? Was it?
Yes.
What was his cut? Did he have a cut of animation in this?
He did. He did some sort of character acting stuff with the group.
Yeah.
You know that scene from the
that's his
trailer
bread
of
and
Happy Goku jumping. Yeah, he did that segment.
Yeah.
I think what I've really enjoyed from the action in the show so far is that I think often when we think of Dragon Ball fights, they are almost always one-on-ones, sometimes one-on-two. Whereas a lot of the action we've seen has been against multiple opponents, and that's incredibly true of this. It's Goku against a small army.
Yeah, like 20 of them.
Yeah, which is, that's so cool to see. Definitely makes it feel different and unique, and yeah, that makes me excited to see more like that.
The most
Not that we've
we
not
got
had
of that
stuff like that
before
before,
was the Red Ribbon Army stuff, but that was very limited. And we did get like a lot of the cuts, and especially the what pairs with the insert song for the Red Ribbon Army base thing was really well animated, but it was very concentrated and just not like quite in the same context of something like this. It's very interesting to see just like regular action that surrounds like one on multi type fights, which is just broadly a change of pace compared to what we're used to from Dragon Ball.
And we also got a POV shot that I really loved of Goku running. He's looking down. You can just see his legs. I thought that was really really good. Yeah, that was a great bit of boarding. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And of course, the episode finishes with Pansy revealing herself. The hood comes off.
Immediately. She was a mystery for like 12 seconds. It seems clear to me that, I don't know, it was supposed to be like this masked character for some period of time, or at least that was probably like an early thought for her. But it seems so clear based on her being the opening, the ending, the eye catches, and then now revealing herself within half an episode, that initial idea was scrapped at some point because it just, she was wearing the mask for surely what must have been 5 minutes of runtime, even less screen time.
I do wonder, is there a reason? Like, I mean, obviously I can think of like a number of reasons. I'm just trying to think about like, you know, is there a reason why she was wearing the mask when she was like, is she someone people would recognize? Is she not someone people would recognize? Or is it just the fact that like she's doing something that could, you know, put herself and maybe people who might know her in risk at risk? I do wonder if there's more of a reason behind why she was wearing a mask, or if it was just for the simple fact of, you know, what she was doing at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I believe the next episode is called Pansy. So hopefully we will get some answers to that. But yeah, I mean, I guess I would presume that maybe if, you know, she is doing her Robin Hood thing, she just or maybe she thinks maybe she's Batman. Maybe it's her cape and cowl, and she's swooping in to save the day. I would love so much if she thinks she's a superhero, and I think I would be so sad. It would make me incredibly sad that Gohan was not there to share in that love.
I think my personal interpretation on it, and perhaps our best bet, is that the reason that they brought up, like, because after Goku mollywallops like 20 different guards, Glorio's like, what the hell, you're a fugitive now. So my assumption is that they mentioned that in part because Pansy is and has been a fugitive and uses the mask as a way to like
she's got
hide her fugitive status.
With her like in games where they do the whole notoriety thing.
Yes, you know, like, exactly. She this is surely not the first time she's gotten up to some shit, and so probably has like a way to obscure herself compared to. Yeah. I would not be surprised if next episode we get one of the classic like a One Piece style, like, oh, here's my wanted poster, and it's like a funny drawing of Pansy.
Although, I mean, would she be wanted? She seems pretty shit at what she was trying to do, so maybe, I don't know.
Hey, they went after her and were ready to beat the hell out of her.
They did, you know, Paul, yeah, that's definitely true.
Just because you're bad at doing crime doesn't mean it's not a crime.
You say crime, but like, yeah. Stopping
it's a
someone
crime.
from being killed.
A crime according to them.
Something we can theorize on that's a little more concrete is on the next episode preview that appears to show Goku fighting people who are wearing those necklaces. So I'm wondering if there's more to it, if it's a control device of some sort, if they have to fight against their will, and maybe that puts Goku in a difficult position where it's like, man, these people, they don't want to fight, I don't want to hurt them, but they're coming at me and they're under control.
It could be a situation where, like, like in any sort of world order, there are going to be people that benefit from it and don't benefit from it. And those that are benefiting from it probably don't want the order to change, particularly when, death is the order of the day. So, like, if there are people that are, like, benefiting from it, that particular situation, that are like, oh, I'm living for like a fucking 1,000 years or whatever the fuck, they're like, I don't want this guy to ruin what I got going on. So that, like, I could imagine that being a motivating factor, maybe. But yeah, I can see what you're saying.
I like to think that Goku just gets bored next episode and starts beating up civilians with no additional reasoning.
That also is possible.
I don't think it's completely impossible. And even if it is, it'd be funny. And Lord knows there's nothing that will drive Toriyama more than, but it'd be funny.
Well, that brings us to the end of the episode. It's been a more nuanced discussion this week. We started off quite negative, and then we sort of ebbed and flowed a little bit. But how do we feel on the whole? I quite enjoyed this episode. I think,
I did.
Maybe it's just because I'm tired today, but it as much as I had a good time with it, it felt slightly on the weaker side. This was probably the first time I felt the pacing a little bit more, but I still had a very, very good time with it, and it was filled with so much fun that, I certainly didn't mind. What are your overall thoughts?
I think I like the episode. Like, just to be clear, like, I did like the episode. I'm just kind of trying to be a different voice in this, because I think it makes for a more interesting conversation, first of all. Plus, I like to argue. So there's like, I think I'm going to make more of a habit of just taking a dissenting opinion just for the sake of argument. But like, generally speaking, I do think it's on the slower side in terms of pacing. I think I'll agree. I think AJ and I's opinion on it pretty much is 1-to-1. I'm just choosing to be a bit more obnoxious about it. So I definitely think there are lots of things to look forward to that this episode has, like, shown us, but I'm kind of waiting now. I'm kind of getting to the point where I want the story to start showing me the things that are really, really, really cool, rather than just saying, hey, look, this is the thing that's really cool. And, like, again, triple fusion, fucking cool, right? But, like, I want to start seeing stuff. And I think we're kind of going to be getting into that kind of, like, modus operandi soon. So
yeah.
Hopefully.
I think for me, like, it's clear we're still very much in the establishing action portion, but I think that we are probably nearing the end of that. Maybe, if not episode 5, then by episode 6, because we've now finally have the crew together, basically. We still don't have Piccolo and Vegeta, but the, like, core Daima crew of Goku, Shin, Glorio, and Pansy are now all in one place. So a lot of that has been established. I actually think, even though I loved episode 3, I think I might like this episode more than episode 3, if only because I think the A part of episode 3 is by far the slowest and just generally the most slowest and uneventful pace thing in the series so far. The back half of episode 3 was really great. We get the village and the hotel and the bar fight, but the first half is almost nothing. It's like legit 11 minutes of
we're in a ship
talking to the fish. yeah, and being in the ship. Versus this episode is we're still in establishing action, but neither the A part nor the B part was boring to me at all. The A part had a lot of interesting stuff getting around, and then the shop and all these cool items. And then the B part, we had a lot of the stuff with Pansy and the military and stuff. I think I was more uniformly entertained by episode 4 than I was episode 3. Even if maybe episode 3 had higher highs. Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to call.
I'm trying to think. Did I prefer episode 3? I'm trying to think. I'm actually, my brain's going blank. Do I even remember what happened in episode 3? It was when they lost the plane. They were flying.
That was at the very
They traveled. Yeah.
Episode 3 starts with them still in the regular world. They go and talk to the Warp Sama. Bunch of goldfish jokes. And then they spend basically the first half of the episode talking to Warp Sama and then just, like, flying around. and then the back half of the episode
Yeah.
is just the stuff in the village. And then
No,
the
I
boss
think
fight.
I actually prefer this week's episode more than last week's for sure. Yeah. No, I do. Yeah.
We got him,
That's
ladies and
probably
gentlemen.
fair.
We got him.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well,
I don't know if that's a condemnation of last week or if it's just a praise for this week, but just yeah.
Well, we all said we liked last week, so I'm gonna turn it around and say that you really like this episode. It might even be your favorite so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This much is clear. I mean, I've never seen Mark more excited about Daima than talking about Vegito with a cape, so I think there's a case to be made.
I'm just excited. I'm just excited for new things to start happening, like things that like are not just exploring the world. Because I've gotten that now. I want something else.
Look, before we move into the Q&A, I want to ask you all something now so that we can get in there nice and early with our predictions.
Okay.
What episode do you think the remainder of the cast will make their way to the Demon Realm? How long do you think we will spend with just this current cast, which now includes Pansy? We've picked up another party member on our RPG adventure.
You're talking about how many episodes until like Kibito, Vegeta,
Yes.
and everyone else arrive?
Yeah, how long do you think we'll stay with this perspective?
I'm actually thinking they're going to stay that perspective until... Well, actually, we can probably gauge this, right? Because Bulma said that she needed 10 days to do the thing. 2 days passed, but then she got to see Glorio's ship and that she could do it in like half the time. Is it half the time she said?
She said
So
much
that means that there's
quicker, I
probably...
believe.
Okay, so we're looking at maybe 2 or 3 days then. A day has passed. We're looking at the end of this day because it looks like dusk. So, I want to say it kind of has to be this world, doesn't it? This realm. Because that's how... I can't imagine Kibito would be able to get into the realm too. But then again, they would probably have transportation.
We
maybe?
can use the trailer to cheat a little bit. If I remember correctly, the Vegeta scene we see of him in action, of Piccolo in action, I believe has a red sky, right?
Well, yeah, so we know they're at least there by the end, but that doesn't say much.
Sure, but I guess I'm just going by the presumption that like the trailer stuff is made of reasonably early stuff, because I believe at this point we've seen everything other than Goku going Super Saiyan and those cuts of the others.
There's a couple more that we haven't seen. Like there was some stuff in the NEP that was in one of the trailers. I only know this because I've been editing with those trailers almost exclusively for the last week. My God.
I've been having it in my head that he's going to be arriving maybe like for Realm 2. But because like you kind of want to have Goku face off against the
100%.
Tamagami on his own, because you want Goku to face off against the initial Tamagami, maybe unaided, just to see what that's like.
100%.
And then once we have that as a baseline, then you can kind of like start introducing more people to make it a bit more compelling or change up the flavor a bit. Changing up the flavor immediately with the first Tamagami kind of feels a bit overkill.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking if it takes a couple of episodes to get to the Tamagami, if it takes a couple of episodes then we shouldn't also think about Tamagamis as Act 1, 2, and 3, because it's not, because the third Tamagami fight realistically is going to be the end of Act 2. And it's going to be the start of Act 3, will be going up against Goma. So we're thinking...
Yeah, maybe. It's hard to say.
Do you need to pull out a narrative book? Do we need to consult?
If only we were familiar with some.
I'm just trying to think. So we're on episode 4. We haven't faced Tamagami. A couple of episodes for the Tamagami. Maybe more. I'm going to say episode 11. 10 or 11.
In the Johar Q structure, where are we at right now?
Okay, fuck you. All right, whatever.
I do not have an episode prediction, but my original answer that I was going to say is quite similar to Mark's. My guess is they will arrive directly after Goku fights the first Tamagami.
No, they can't. They have to show up at a time where it's like, a big save. I feel like that has to be it, right?
I think I was thinking about that. There is a chance that by after the Tamagami, it is like as soon as they get to World 2, some crazy shit goes down, and then they arrive for World 2. But I don't know. I agree with you that it would be surprising if they are already there for the first Tamagami fight, because like we've established the base cast, they need to have their big boss fight with this cast before we expand the party, so to speak.
Yeah, 100%.
When after that, I don't know. I mean, maybe we're wrong. Maybe the big save is that they arrive and their arrival helps cinch this victory against the Tamagami. I don't know.
I kind of feel though, like even though I do feel like Goku has to have his like, you know, proper solo Tamagami fight, it could very well end with, you know, Vegeta or Piccolo or whoever just making the save. So yeah, I could concede to that for sure.
Yeah.
So it could be earlier.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to say. I guess I would probably put like a random number of like maybe 8 or 9 or something. That's just like my general feeling. But yeah, it's hard to say. I guess we'll keep that in mind and we'll see going forwards. But for now, I think we can probably call it there and transition into the Q&A segment.
Okay, let's see. What do we got? First, we got a double question / super chat from Kawaii Kindle, who first says, when time is over, will you do a full review? Heart, heart, heart. And then also said, I love your channel and I'm reading One Piece because of you.
Well, that's so nice. That's probably like my favorite kind of comment to get. Genuinely. It genuinely does make me feel really, really, really good whenever I can like say, oh, whenever I see someone say, you convinced me to pick up X, Y, and Z and to give it a go, and now I love it. That's my favorite kind of comment, period. I love it. It's my favorite. Anyway, yeah.
Will we do a full Daima review? Surely, right?
No, never.
It's only
yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, 100%. Like, there's always going to be some like annoyingly specific and detailed and whatever review. Entirely expect a 1 hour review of Daima at some point when the series is done. 100%. So yeah.
For what it's worth, rather, for those that are interested, we will probably also, while in addition to these live streams / podcasts, while Daima is airing, we will probably also have some smaller videos on the topic of Daima. Obviously, we had the composer video the other week, but even outside of that, we will probably still release some videos relating to Daima while it's still airing. But yes, I imagine we will definitely end up having one of the usual bajillion hour long Mark T&M super reviews on Daima once it's all said and done.
With a really sick AMV.
Yeah, with a really sick AMV indeed.
Get some triple transformations in there, you know?
What if it's more than 3? Have we considered, because Dragon Ball Fusions, the 3DS game, had 5-way fusions. What if we get that?
My brain cannot deal with the possibilities of more than 3, so please stop it, you charlatan.
3 is the upper bound of Mark's brain. It would be interesting if we got an everybody fusion. Like a Goku, Vegeta, Shin, Glorio, Piccolo fusion. That's 5, right? Poor Pansy, she's left out. I could see a world where she proves more useful than her initially funny reveal. Because otherwise, why have her, right? Like, she has to serve some purpose to being in the party, so to speak. We just don't know.
I used to think that for a lot of other stories. I used to think that for a lot of stories, and then it's always ended up hurting me. So I can't bring myself to have expectations like that.
Yeah, so, I'm trying to think, like, what are the sort of JRPG trope characters? Like, you normally have, you have healers, casters. You sometimes will have like a mechanic. You sometimes have there's the one with we have the one with the gun, of course. That's Glorio, Vincent Valentine.
We got him. We obviously have Goku, which is like the bruiser.
Well, would Shin not count as a healer, maybe?
Yeah.
Shin healer?
Well, it depends, because Kibito is the one that heals, right? So I guess maybe Kibito's the healer. Shin is like the like smart, like upperclassman. The like what's the word I'm looking for when you're rich and of status?
Aristocrat?
Yes, yeah. He's like the well-off aristocrat in JRPGs. There's a fair few of those, right? I know there was in I think the most recent JRPG I played was Octopath 2, and there was one of those for sure.
I legitimately only knew the word aristocrat right there in that drop of a hat second because my daughter is always watching Aristocats, and that movie is mid as fuck, by the way. So
Whoa.
yeah.
That's big. Yeah, I don't know what role is there for Pansy to fill in a JRPG party. That's maybe the most interesting question to me this entire evening.
Damn, look at
I
me
don't know.
go.
It's kind of difficult for me to kind of like put stock into that kind of stuff because Dragon Ball doesn't have the best track record with girls, and the last time they had anything for like Pan, they like dropped it and then just made her the de facto damsel in distress.
Okay.
So worst case scenario,
like 20 years ago.
Right. So like the worst case scenario for Pansy right now is fuck this person in the fucking chat. I don't hate Pansy. I like Pansy.
No, that's
my actual
true.
expectations.
Chatter, you're absolutely right. He's borderline misogynistic against Pansy.
My expectations for Pansy is that I want her to be something great. It's just that when it came to Dragon Ball GT, they had nothing for Pan. So the worst case scenario for Pansy is that she just becomes this entity that gets into trouble, that pushes Goku into action, and I hope that isn't going to be the case.
By the way, I don't think it is going to be the case. IQ moment. And
oh yeah,
at least I'm pretty sure this is not okay. We've already said like 30 different times that Pansy, like jokingly, well, partially jokingly, that Pansy is just this thing's Pan. Why did it take me 4 episodes to occur to me that Pan is the first 3 letters in Pansy?
There is no way.
No, it didn't occur to me until just now.
That might be the worst thing that's been uttered this episode.
I mean, we made jokes about it, and obviously, like, archetypally, she seems like she'll be a Pan type, but it did not occur to me until just now that her literal name is basically Pan, but just with some extra letters.
Not just Pan, but like he's like Pansy.
Yeah,
you know, it's like so.
Why did that not occur to me? I don't know. Either way, the main takeaway is I
appreciate the transparency.
Oh, hey, the next super chat is from Mr. Negative, the guy that just said that you hate Pansy. Mr. Negative says, who do you think will fuse with the bugs, and do you think it will fuse the outfits or have its own special outfit like the dance?
It has to be Goku, Piccolo, and Vegeta, right?
Based on the sign, at least, they could do 3. But as far as we saw in his hand, Goku only bought 2, I believe. Well, okay, to be clear, Glorio bought them. Glorio's the pay pig.
He got a cool little pouch as well. I thought that was cute.
Yeah, right? When are we going to sell those in like a collector's edition? Because I want one. Who do you think will be the 2 fusing, AJ?
I want to be really cynical and be like, it's just going to be 2 people. It's going to be Vegito. But
yeah,
I just feel like maybe Daima is more than that. I hope. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think it'll come down to where the impetus of that idea was. Because if it was a Toei idea, and to be clear, I'm not just like blanket hating on Toei. Because, I don't know, they can do some really cool stuff when they actually have the time to. But just in terms of money making and profitability, if the impetus of the idea was from Toei, I could see it just being Gogeta, Vegito type situation again. However, if it was a Toriyama idea, or if we're lucky, I could see it be something more interesting and something new. I don't know what that'll be, though. I could see... okay, this definitely isn't the answer, without a doubt. But how funny would it be if it was Shan and Kibito?
That would be such a great way of fixing things.
Yeah, no, you fix the timeline just by doing that.
Oh
100%.
my god, that would be so funny.
Well, no, that actually wouldn't work. That actually wouldn't work because they would need to be fused indefinitely, whereas that has a time limit, right?
We have no idea.
I was going to say, I don't think we got the mechanics of it yet.
They've not described the mechanics of this bug at all.
Oh, I thought they said that. Okay, never mind then. Jeez.
I'm fairly certain, AJ, as you as well are saying this, right? They didn't explicitly explain the mechanics of the fusion bug yet, right?
Yeah, no, I don't believe so at all.
Okay, I said it as a joke, but now, God, if that is the way that they fixed the timeline, that would be so funny, dude.
That would be funny.
I'm rooting for that as the answer, if nothing else now, because, oh man, I really hope. It would be so funny if we get this extremely sick, like JRPG fusion bug power up, and we just use it to put a character back to their status quo instead of anything like interesting or new.
Jesus
God,
Christ.
that's so good.
Someone mentioned something in the chat there actually that I thought was worth talking about, because I actually don't know, because this could actually play into when the rest of the cast show up.
Mm-hmm.
How are they even going to get into the demon realm if they don't have a passkey?
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, so like, could be Dr. Aransu, could be, helping them out. I don't know. See, like, this is just kind of things that are worth consideration. Just floating it out there, it's a possibility.
For what it's worth, some people in the chat are saying that there was a line about the bugs being temporary, so maybe AJ and I both are misremembering.
And Mark is right again. Score
well,
one
now
for
to be
me.
clear, it could just be that the chat's wrong. It's possible.
How could you ever say something so vile about our viewers?
I know. It's unforgivable.
It's unconscionable. It's
Yeah.
unconscionable.
I don't know. I'll be interested to see regardless. I could see... I don't know. It's just hard for me to imagine the fusion not being, like, one of the participants being one of the new characters.
Well, prepare to be disappointed as we get Piccolo, as we get Goku, and as we get Vegeta. Just kidding. It's just going to be Vegito.
Yeah.
To be honest, that would be such a bummer for me. It would be such a bummer. Sorry, go on.
Have you considered at the least, in fairness to the idea, that it would be Kid Vegito / Gogeta?
Honestly, that kind of shit, I couldn't care less.
But he might be cute and a little gremlin.
Yeah, come on. That'd be so
and the
cute.
appeal of that will, it'd be fine. It wouldn't be cool. It'd be fine. Yeah.
It'd be cute. It's not.
I don't care.
That's another point in favor of Mark wanting it to be DBZ. Whoever commented that earlier, good call. Good call. Let's see. What do we got next? Majora Z says,
I know that name.
Oh, this is... Well, they asked, this is kind of a more meta question. They ask, could the unlisted VODs go in a playlist so people can still view the uncut streams, not just the edited down ones that get uploaded to Not a Pod? That's an AJ question.
Well, so here's the thing, right? That would be a valid question if it was episode 1, where I had cut the Q&A segment and cut like any kind of reference, like visuals or anything. Like, you lost a lot. Fair enough. For every episode after that, you have lost nothing. All that you have lost are the awkward pauses between our questions where we're like hesitating so we don't interrupt one another because Discord delay, and just any kind of like flubbed sentences. You don't miss any content now for those VODs. So you can catch all of that on the Totally Not a Podcast YouTube channel. You're not missing anything anymore. It was just that first episode, and the feedback was immediately, oh my god, please don't cut this stuff. We really enjoyed the Q&A. And so I've completely left it. I've literally just made it a nicer listening experience for yourselves. You will see cuts in the video just because like that's, I can't just make the audio smoother and not adjust the video, but
right.
Yeah, otherwise it's completely uncut.
Goldfield03 asks, or says even, Demon Realm has weird air. So does Boo's insides. Therefore, no Patara fusion in the Demon Realm.
Ooh.
Yeah, I see what you're
like
saying.
comments like this. I like comments like this a lot.
Yeah.
That makes my brain wrinkle feel good. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
I like
that's
that
great.
a lot. I like that idea a lot. That should definitely be a thing. That's really cool, actually. Who was that person who said that?
Goldfield03.
Goldfield? Way to go. Way to go being you. Look at you.
I
it's
actually
kind of
do
thing
think
that I would,
that's
like,
really
nerd out about.
plausible functionally, if only because we've just introduced fusion bugs, and we know almost without a doubt that eventually Kibito will be arriving. And
Yeah.
Kibito and Shin both have a Patara. Or does Shin still have 2 Patara on him right now?
I can imagine.
That just gave me a fucking brilliant idea, actually. Okay. So, like, here, okay. 4D chess. All right. So, if it is the case that these bug things have a time limit, because I think they do, they might only have a time limit because they're in the demon realm. What if Goku takes him back to the main world or whatever, and Kibito and Shin are still fused for whatever reason? And once they get back to the real world, they're like, wait, why aren't we unfusing? Although I suppose at that point they could still just do the whole Boo thing. So yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyway. Yeah, I thought I was onto something
That
there.
is a good point, talking about the idea of that being the way that they fix the continuity, which is even if they do refuse, they could just pop back in Boo. So really, there is no way to fix that. I could see it happening though, because they're going. I'm pretty sure they have access to Patara, so we need a reason to use the bugs and not the Patara. Maybe,
yeah, I can imagine a situation where they're like in a really bad situation. They go to use the Patara and they're like, oh no, we can't use it. It's the same as Boo. And then Goku's like, aha, but look at my little pouch and goodies. Because that's how Goku
I do.
speaks.
This is only tangentially related, but I did really like the bit in this episode where you have like the two different approaches to playing JRPGs and item use. Where you have Shin wanting to be the person that saves all the items for the final boss fight, and Goku, who just does not give a shit, and like roughly 12 seconds after buying the items is like, guys, we got to use these items. Let's use this Sinzu bean to run a little faster for a bit, basically.
Yeah, like a kid coming back from the kind of shop with like a new toy or something.
Yeah. Look at this balloon I bought, and then he immediately pops it. Yeah, I did. I enjoyed that difference in item management between the two of them. How Shin was immediately like, "What? No, we gotta save that." Or maybe it was Glorio. I don't remember. Catalina, what a lovely name. Catalina submitted. It was after watching this episode I realized that the main thing I like about this series so far is just how feel good it is. I just enjoy watching Goku be Goku in a way I haven't since early Dragon Ball.
It's really nice. I'm glad that someone's doing.
I couldn't agree more. That's very much how I feel.
Same here.
Nice vibe.
It's really great watching Goku. I mean, we mentioned this earlier, but it's great watching Goku be more in his element than he ever has been. It's hard to imagine a place Goku could enjoy more than the Demon Realm, like functionally speaking.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, it is a very nice vibe. I think it kind of echoed it as well during the description of the Tao Pai Pai reference, where, like, Goku's just screaming with joy while the rest of them are just either screaming or just bracing for impact.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it really does take you back to, like, early Dragon Ball, where Goku's point of view is just totally analogous to literally everyone else.
Yeah, this is fun. I get to fight a bunch of strong guys. Or guys that are strong compared to me presently anyways. Just in general, I get to mollywop random dudes every day. I get to run around and meet new people and discover new things and master martial arts again. Like, he's so in his element. It's so much fun. This isn't a super chat, but someone did just reply, no more stupid Super Goku. Despite the like anti-circle jerk against Super, I do gotta say, it is nice escaping bad writing Goku.
I would like to somewhat question that just a little bit. I did feel a small smidgen of Super Goku coming back in this episode when they're talking about their focus. It's like Goku is like, oh, but we could go get the Dragon Balls, and he has to be reminded, like,
yep,
my guy, we are coming for Dende. What are you saying?
Oh yeah, there was a little bit of that. Yeah,
that felt a little bit off to me. That's the kind of stuff I'm not huge on. Like, I get Goku can be a ditz at times, but that seemed very strange.
I agree, but I think there is a meaningful separation between that and, like, oops, I forgot the rice cooker. Now Zamasu is going to destroy the universe. Like,
yeah, for sure. It's not that bad.
There are levels to it, and I appreciate that. It is. I mean, we've talked about this multiple weeks now, but it's interesting watching them try and navigate restoring some of Goku's characterization while also navigating the fact that this is supposed to be like a nostalgia kid Goku nostalgia trip. It seems difficult to balance those two concerns. And
because realistically, Goku's body has gotten smaller, but realistically, he's still like a guy in his 50s or 40s, right?
Right. His brain is still the same, but you also don't want to entirely write him just as an adult, because then what was the point of making them kids other than like the physical limitation? So I don't know. It is a tricky thing to navigate. I do not envy their position from a writing perspective.
For sure.
Okay. Reynaldo Hernandez asks, will you cover other anime? Parentheses, but not Dandadan. I really like that parenthetical.
I like Dandadan.
Yeah, what do they have against Dandadan?
I think they just mean more that, like, you have expressed interest in that, so something else.
it's difficult, right? Because at the moment I'm kind of really burnt out from reviewing stuff, just because it was go 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 all the time, and I'm just kind of enjoying this whole Dragon Ball wave where I get to kind of write a bit of kind of like, it's kind of a bit of a throwback, but with like kind of a modern twist, where I get to kind of make videos about kind of like more random stuff, and people like them as well. So that's always, very rewarding. But in terms of like watching new anime, I'm always open to watching new anime. But the same, I feel like a broken record when I say that, and I feel really bad when I say it this way as well, because it kind of like frames my decision making in a very dark light. But I realistically will cover what I both want to cover, but also it has to also be something that's monetarily rewarding. Because if I'm investing a ton of time into a particular product, I need to be able to derive some sort of profit from it in order to justify the amount of time that I'm dedicating to it, because I spend so much time working anyway. Dan to Dan is like really popular right now, so maybe down the line I could do like a quick like review of the entire series as like one video. But yeah, like, I mean, there are lots of series that people want me to cover, like Jujutsu Kaisen, that I haven't seen anything from other than that one movie. There's lots of stuff that could be down the line, but it'll be a while, just because I'm like, the last couple of years has been pretty much nonstop with the whole blind review stuff, and it's still going to come. There's still going to be more down the line, but I'm just enjoying this kind of breakaway and kind of like retreat back into like something that I feel more comfortable writing about without having to put so much mental toil. Because like, I know Dragon Ball really well. All of us do. And so that makes making videos about Dragon Ball a lot easier. We don't have to kind of second guess ourselves and get other people involved in different projects just to double check, triple check, quadruple check anything that we write. Because, like, for instance, I really like One Piece, and I do fully intend on reviewing the
Egghead?
The Egghead arc. Sorry, Egghead arc. Just because I maybe see that comment once or twice a day.
Yeah.
So, like, I definitely want to cover that, but it's just when it comes to making even One Piece content, because I like it, I can still write about it, but I can't write about it with the same sort of speed, accuracy, and clarity as I could with Dragon Ball, say, because I know Dragon Ball so well. I don't know One Piece to that same degree. So there's a bit of that as well. So, but to answer your question, yes, we will cover other stories. Which ones? As I said, it depends on what's popular and what I also want to cover. So yeah, I hope that is an answer that is satisfying. Probably isn't, but that's my long-winded answer to that.
Dark Cloud Uchiha. They say, compared to Super, Daima hasn't reached the meat of the story. This is the Dragon Ball part of the story. We see Super Saiyan later in the trailer.
I'm just really appreciating their like proper hardcore sort of 2007 edgy forum name. That's a good use.
Oh yeah, Dark Cloud Uchiha.
Yeah.
I am excited.
What is Uchiha?
Yeah, what is?
Excuse me?
Is that a
Naruto
thing?
Uchiha?
Did you just say what is Uchiha?
Yeah.
Is it Naruto?
Mark, you reviewed all of Naruto. What?
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, but that was ages ago. Like, I don't remember.
I
so much
literally
stuff.
never read a single page of Naruto, and even I knew that was Naruto, I think.
Yeah, that's Damn.
Hey,
that did not stick with you at all.
This goes back to what I just said earlier. I don't feel comfortable speaking on with any authority on any other anime other than Dragon Ball. So there you go. Prove my point right there immediately. Perfect.
The chat is very bewildered with Mark right now. Oh, another one from Majora Z, who says, regarding Ki is magic, Degesu in episode 1 said, quote, but they're flying. They fire light from their hands and seem to be able to use magic when watching Goku, etc. That seems in support of what you were saying, Mark.
Yeah, because I'm always right.
God damn it. I mean, yeah. Between that comment and the comment from Glorio today, it does seem like even if they use Ki, or maybe they don't, maybe because Glorio mentions his plane flies with magic energy or magic something. So maybe it's the same where everybody in the demon world, because Glorio can fly, but maybe he's flying not with Ki, but with something else.
Dark elf magic. Sorry, yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. That's interesting.
I've never played any of the Dragon Quest games, so I don't know what's possible.
I was less keen on the idea before, but rehearing that quote from episode 1 really does make me wonder if there will be like meaningful exploration into like Ki versus whatever it is these demon folk use. Comma D says, my theory is Glorio is the rightful heir, secret prince in an RPG trope. I think Toa is his mom and the grave, and the grave in the opening, but she will just be a picture like 21.
I definitely really like that idea. I think that could very well be a part of it. I like that idea a lot. It makes me sick to my stomach to connect Super Dragon Ball Heroes to anything, let alone this. So like I'm as I speak, I'm very much consciously holding down vomit. But I do like the idea of Glorio being of some I like that actually a lot as an idea, as a concept. For sure.
In defense, and just to be clear, I'm not rooting for this, but in defense of the Toa concept, chat is echoing this as well. Toa was initially their inception was initially for Dragon Ball Online from Toriyama, and Dragon Ball Online was meant to be like a canon situation. So it could be.
Oh, in that case, then fine.
It could be like a what's her name, Vami, the chick that Android 21 is based on. Where even if Android 21 wasn't added to the canon, quote unquote, her design was in her like little picture in Superhero. So maybe I'm really glad that we ended on superheroes. Mark's favorite of the Dragon Ball series is. You can put that one to paper.
My favorite. Let's sign off, guys.
All right. Thanks so much for listening. This was maybe our longest podcast to date, right?
Most combative one for sure.
It was a chunky one. It was partially the roast of Mark. Thanks so much, guys. We will see you next time for Pansy and whatever Daima brings next. If you enjoyed this and would like to tune in live, be sure to head over to Totally Not Mark's main channel, where we live stream this podcast at 8 p.m. UK time. That's 2 p.m. Central every single week until the end of Daima. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.